Wakizashi's Teahouse. Konnichiwa minasan, this is Gray at Wakizashi's Teahouse from Japan. How are you doing? Are you good? First of all, can I just say thank you so much. Hontoni arigato. This is a 100 subscribers celebration video. I can't believe I got 100 subs, seriously. When I started this back at the end of June, I had 1 subscriber. So for everyone who subscribed and for everyone who's watched one of my videos, really thank you. It means so much to me. You wouldn't believe it. So as a celebration, I want to do a kind of origin story for me, for Wakizashi's Teahouse. Like, how did I become the comic geek nerd and geek that I am today? So I want to give a kind of rundown of some of the comics that really, made me into a comic book lover. What won me over, what made me love this medium so much. So yeah, my kind of not really superhero but geeky hero, nerdy hero origin story begins in this video. I'm going to have a part 2 up soon, so keep watching and let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you. Here we go. Well, I guess you could say it all began with Groo. This is Sergio Aragones' Groo the Wanderer. I started buying this from issue 17 back in the 1980s. Back then it was published by Marvel's Epic line, I think it was. What I liked about Groo was the detail and the completely bonkers humour. Suits me really well. So yeah, I still like to read it, even now, as an old man. Recently there was a collaboration with Groo and Conan. This was really cool. I did a review of this earlier on my channel. So you get the real world, you get Conan's world in this, a big mix of it all. There's Aragones and writer Mark Evanier putting themselves in the story. And where's Conan's art? Here we go. There. Thomas Yates did the Conan art in it. Very cool, very silly. Perfect for me. Okay, I was just talking about Groo being the first comic book I bought with my own money, but that's actually the first American comic book I bought with my own money. Can you guess what the first comic book I bought in the UK was? There you go, 2000 AD. Now this is actually the 2000th issue, believe it or not. I got this a few years ago, but I used to buy 2000 AD back in the 80s. I always liked Judge Dredd. 1, because he was a really cool character, and 2, because the story was always in colour. A lot of 2000 AD was printed in black and white, but they were still, it's still very good quality. You got introduced to a lot of now famous artists and writers. It was through 2000 AD that I first came across the work by Pete Milligan and Grant Morrison. Look at that, there's Nemesis, the Warlock. I have to admit, I was never a fan of Nemesis when I was younger, but I can appreciate, the art is awesome. Yeah, in 2000 AD, I read Zenith by Grant Morrison, if you've heard of that, that's pretty cool. And Peter Milligan did Bad Company. Recently I've started buying these, the complete case files. These go back from the very beginning. Now this one is volume 2. Have a look at some of the art in here. There's Brian Bolland, famous for Watchmen of course. Brian Bolland's early work in here. Also of course, regular 2000 AD artist Mike McMahon. Here we go, here's some by him. And these stories were written by Pat Mills or Rob Wagner. Sorry, John Wagner. Yeah, it's got art by Brian Bolland, Dave Gibbons, Mike McMahon, Brendan McCarthy, Brett Ewins. Some names there from comic history. Wow, look at this one. Look at that, that's cool. So, 2000 AD. Another comic book that helped shape my love of the medium when I was younger was this, the original Master of Kung Fu from Marvel Comics. This is the one from the 70s and early 80s, written by Doug Monk with art by Paul Gulacy. Here's an example of the art. Look at this. I always loved these splash pages which look like movie posters to the best 1970s Kung Fu spy movie you've never seen. Let me show you some examples of the art by Gulacy. It's, it is what it is. It's very pulpy. It's kind of simple stories, but action-packed, exciting. As I say, the art is mostly stunning. Look at this. Here's another one here. Look at this one. The Murder Agency. Don't you just want to watch that? Watch this movie? I recommend the book. So this is volume 2 from 1975 to 1977. It collects those issues. As far as I know, this comic book gets really good from about issue 40 onwards. This collects issues 29 to 53. I don't know if there's a volume 3 yet, but I hope to get it if there is. I wish I still had some of the original copies. I think my brother might have them. Do you? I'd love to have some. But yeah, this is, to me, the real Shang-Chi, not that recent Marvel Studios production. That's like a completely different character. So yeah, Bruce Lee, the comic book, Master of Kung Fu. Great, pulpy, Pulp Fiction. Wow! Hit by a blinding light from the heavens. What's going on? It must be a sign that someone likes this video, right? Night has fallen, so it's time to talk about Batman. I started collecting Batman around issue 400, just before this came out. This is the famous Year One by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. I think this was published in issues 404 to 407. So when I was buying Batman, I didn't realise like how good this was at the time. The art, for some reason, the art just didn't work for me at that time. You know, since then, I've realised it's brilliant, it's genius by Mazzucchelli. So atmospheric and moody. I love the way he draws characters' faces, and the use of colour in here as well is perfect. Look at that. I think they used quite a bit of this story for Batman Begins, Nolan. So Nolan must have been a fan. So I was buying the main Batman title and I was buying Detective Comics. So that was two a month. The next one I recommend is this. This came out, I think, around the same time, but I didn't buy this in individual issues. I think it was just too expensive for me at the time as a teenager. So I got this as a collected trade. Now this is Frank Miller's very famous The Dark Knight Returns. Who'd have thought they could make such a great story where Batman is old, you know, he's a much more mature, his body's wrecked, and he comes out of retirement. So cool. It's a great story. If you haven't read it, it's a huge recommend. Then the next big release that was coming out, I remember there was a lot of hype for this at the time. Alan Moore, Brian Bolland, The Killing Joke. I got this when it first came out. In fact, this is a first edition. Let's see, 1988. Wow, can you believe it? Fantastic art as usual by Bolland. Look at that, so detailed. I like the colours as well. I think it was John Higgins doing the colouring on this. Just let me check. Yeah, John Higgins did a great job. There's one of the most iconic images of the Joker. Look at him there. So a darker Batman, well, very dark, a mature story, an essential Joker story. And then let me just go through one more. The next one that was really hyped up was this, Arkham Asylum by Grant Morrison and Dave McKean. It's a crazy story, another very dark one. The art, wow, you know, this is an artist's artist, if you know what I mean. Look at that, Dave McKean's art. So dark and moody, scary. It really reflects the story. Kind of madness to it. As a story, it's okay, you know, it's hit and miss. There are some good things, some I'm not sure about. Grant Morrison, it can be like that a lot for me, so yeah. Worth it just for the art though. Back in 1990, I bought my first issue of Usagi Yojimbo. For the longest time, I thought it was pronounced Usagi, but then I learned Japanese, and it's a hard U, Usagi Yojimbo. So this is a rabbit samurai, a rabbit bodyguard, the famous Story by Stan Sakai, who writes and draws it. At first, I wasn't sure about the anthropomorphic characters, you know, the animal-human characters. It took me a while to get into that, but Stan Sakai's fantastic storytelling skills won me over. So this is an issue about Ninja Bats. This is issue number 21, when it was still published by Fantagraphics before Dark Horse. That led me to start picking up the paperback collections. This one is book 3, Usagi Yojimbo. You can have a look at the art style here. It's an early Usagi style. You see that it's not so clear. Where Usagi still looks kind of younger and round featured, if that makes sense. Here's Jay, the Devil Swordmaster. And I was collecting it for a while. Then this is issue 100, which came out back in 2006. So wow, even that's dated now. I prefer the cover to issue 101. Check this out. How cool is that? So dark and scary and atmospheric. I love it. And then the most recent one I bought was the graphic novel called Yokai. Yokai is Japanese for like monsters, spirits or monsters. This is one that Stan Sakai painted, so it's all in colour, which is rare for Usagi Yojimbo. Let's try and find some good pages. Here we go. Sorry, just banged the mic. So Usagi versus a load of traditional Japanese monsters. So much fun, so cool, so beautifully drawn. You know, you can tell this has been made with a lot of love. So Usagi Yojimbo is still being published today. Now IDW have the rights to it, and they're doing it in full colour. So it's worth checking out. I recommend it. Remember, I'm Luke Skywalker, and I'm here to rescue you. Just kidding. Thanks so much for watching. This is Wakizashi signing off from this video and saying please like, subscribe and leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about it. I'm hoping to have part 2 up in the next few days. So again, thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye bye. Mata ne! Wakizashi's Teahouse. Please subscribe.